You're listening to the Kilcullen Diary Podcasts, stories in sound from a village grown bigger. Hello, I'm Brian Byrne. This is International Men's Health Week, running from yesterday through to next Sunday, which is appropriately Father's Day. In a blog post yesterday, Mick Osborne, a community support worker with the Kildare Leader Partnership, outlined some health ideas which men should take a little time to consider. He noted that while many men may try to emulate heroes and role models, not everyone is going to look like George Clooney or be as fit as footballer Ronaldo. He says there's an expectation that men should try to be like those others, but the reality is that the only person we can be is ourselves. And this week, he reminds us men that we need to take care of ourselves too, in all aspects of our health.
Whether or not it's just in this week, but it's for every week, I think health is really important. And I think this just highlights it, and it's a bit like refreshing the memory, just to say, hang on a second, what's going on. So I think that when we have international weeks, or we have health weeks, or we have jobs weeks or whatever, it just sort of reinforces things for people. So I think it's very important that men recognise who they are and what they need to do for themselves in a health week.
You're involved with the Leader Partnership and you are the wellbeing contact with it. In that you would come across a lot of business people, be they men or women, who are under pressure all the time and put themselves under pressure and perhaps forget that they should stop sometimes.
Yes, I would come across. I think in all walks of life, mental health. I think people confuse mental health with mental illness, and there's a huge difference. Everybody has mental health. Some people cope with it in a better way than others, and we all need sometimes a bit of support around us. And I think that's what's really important here, is to recognise that we all have mental health, just as we have physical health and we have emotional health and we have all those other types of health. But mental health is something that people don't speak about in a way that we talk about our physical health and so on. So I think it's important to recognise that mental health is something that we need to take care of, just as we need to take care of our bodies in different ways. We look after it by feeding it, by exercising it and so on, but our mental health needs some work on it also.
Where did your interest in this field come from?
I worked for Aware for a few years. I came across a lot of depression and people struggling with their mental health, and I think I also myself suffered a little bit 20 years ago. I wasn't in the best of condition myself 20 years ago. I went through panic attacks and stress, and it was something which came on me which I very much wasn't expecting. I thought I was well able to cope, capable. I was working hard. I was doing everything. I could fix things. I could do things. I had no issues whatsoever. But all of a sudden, I got this massive pain in my chest and was getting panic attacks and was feeling very, very unwell. And I just said to myself, I need to look after this. I need to do something about it. And that's where my interest came in it. And then when I worked for Aware and I saw that people struggled with their health and their mental health, it was an eye-opener to what was going on out there. And I think pressure and stress is something that is, people recognise it to an extent, but in a lot of cases people don't recognise it because they think they're coping, they're managing, they're getting on with life, they're doing all these things. But it's about taking time and stopping and saying, hang on a second, what's happening here? Because sometimes we don't recognise it and it creeps up on us. And that's where my interest came in, really from my own issues, which I had over 20 years ago.
Mick, anecdotally, men handle this whole business much worse than do women. Is that a truism?
I think it probably is true in the sense that men are the ones who would be last to go to the doctor if they were feeling unwell. They think they can cope, they can manage. They don't talk about their emotions, they don't talk about their feelings, they keep it bottled up. And when you keep it bottled up, it grows, it becomes more and more, and it doesn't help not to speak about it. It's good to come out and talk to somebody about it. And, if you were to sit down tonight and write down the number of friends that you have in the world or people that you know in the world, you'd probably be still writing tomorrow morning. But the one thing I would say is that if you could pick one of those people that you could go and talk to, be that a doctor or be that a professional or be that a friend or a relative or one of your partner or whoever, but pick somebody you could talk to if you're feeling unwell, that you can go and say, do you know what, I just need to talk to you about this at the moment. I'm not feeling the best and this is how I'm feeling or whatever's going on. It's to pick somebody that you can confide in, that you know will support you through this, and that's what this is about. It's about picking up on the signs that are happening within your body and saying it to somebody, I don't feel great at the moment and this is how I'm feeling. There's no shame in it. It's an illness like any other illness. People with mental health illness, it's the same as any other illness. If you had a broken leg, you'd be going around showing it off to people. When you've mental illness or mental health difficulties, talk to people. That's what it's about.
In a blog post that you've put out this week to mark International Men's Health Week, you give a few tips and a few ideas that people should look at. One of them intrigued me because, and I could relate to it because I'm in the news business, but you said, don't listen to the news hour on the hour.
That's very important not to do that. I mean, if you hear the news at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're more than likely going to hear most of the same news at 8 o'clock at night. So why put yourself through listening to that, every hour on the hour? It doesn't change. All it does is reinforce maybe, and news is generally negative these days. There's a very little positive news out there at the moment. You'll find it very difficult. They usually throw in a snippet at the end of the news, maybe some feel-good factor or something like that, but that's not always the case. And if you're hearing the news on the hour every hour, that's just reinforcing what's going on, and it can bring you down. So there's no need to hear it. It's about saying to yourself, okay, this is my time. I don't need to hear the news. I can hear it once a day, and that's it. Once I hear it, I know it. That's it. I'm informed.
Recognize your achievements on the day and not your omissions or your failures. Are we inclined to think too much about what we haven't managed to do during the day?
Most people, I suppose, at night time would say, I should have done this. I wish I had done that. I forgot to do this. I didn't do that. And you start baiting yourself up about it and thinking, oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Instead of saying, what did I do today? What were the things that I did today? And recognize that you did, plenty of things. And for some people, that might be just getting out of bed in the morning, and to recognize that you did get out of bed, that you did have something to eat, that you did listen to a bit of music, that you did read a book, that you did go for a walk. Recognize the things you did. They're achievements. They're fantastic to be able to do them. And if you recognize them every day, you stop all this negative talk in your head. And negative talk is, something which is there for a lot of people, and it can bring you down thinking about, I should have done this, oh, I'm terrible for not doing that. And you start chastising yourself or giving out to yourself in a way that there's no need to. Recognize your achievements. Everything is an achievement when you do stuff and you recognize it. It's important to do it.
That was Mick Osborne with some sound advice for us all in this International Men's Health Week. I'm Brian Byrne. Thanks for listening.